If you are over 60, you've likely noticed a frustrating change in your internal architecture. You lie down exhausted, but the moment your head hits the pillow, your heart rate remains slightly elevated, and your brain enters a state of hypervigilance. You aren't just awake, your nervous system is physically incapable of finding the off switch. Many of my patients are told that seniors just don't need much sleep. As a doctor, I'm here to tell you that is medically incorrect. Your brain's need for deep, restorative rest is higher now than ever to prevent cognitive decline. The issue isn't a lack of tiredness, it is a dysfunctional transition. Your body is stuck in a sympathetic dominance, a state of fight or flight that should only happen during an emergency, yet it's happening in your bedroom at midnight. At this stage of life, your melatonin signaling has weakened, and your cortisol rhythm is often inverted, peaking when it should be dropping. You cannot will yourself to sleep because you cannot argue with your hormones. You have to force the transition using the physics of your own body. I am Dr. Reid. If you're tired of the 3 a.m. ceiling stare, I'm going to ask you to join our community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. We focus on real biology for people who want to reclaim their vitality naturally. Today, I'm showing you how to bypass your overactive mind with 5 physiological triggers, manual overrides for your brain. We are going to start with a breathing rhythm that acts as a natural tranquilizer, and we will build up to technique number 5, the military method. This is a specific sequence used by elite pilots to collapse into sleep in under 2 minutes, even in a high-stress cockpit. If you think your insomnia is permanent, wait until you see how your nervous system responds to this. Stop trying to fall asleep. Start learning how to trigger it. Let's look at the first mechanism to slow down a racing heart and signal to your brain that the emergency is over. Technique number 1, the 4-7-8 breathing, your biological manual override. When you are lying in bed with your heart thumping against your ribs and your mind scanning the dark, you are experiencing sympathetic dominance. This is your fight or flight system refusing to disengage. After 60, the neurological wiring that handles the transition from alert to rest becomes less efficient. You cannot use logic to tell your heart to slow down, and you cannot demand your brain to stop worrying. However, you have a backdoor into your nervous system that is always accessible, the rhythm of your breath. The 4-7-8 breathing technique is what I call a natural tranquilizer. It is a specific ratio of oxygen intake and carbon dioxide retention designed to stimulate the vagus nerve. This nerve is the primary highway for your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest switch. By manipulating your breath in a precise count, you are manually forcing your vagus nerve to send a signal to your brainstem that says, "The emergency is over. It is safe to power down." The clinical mechanism is fascinating. When you hold your breath for 7 seconds, you allow oxygen to fully saturate your bloodstream. When you exhale for a full 8 seconds, you are performing a long tail exhale that physically slows your heart rate through a process called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. It tricks your brain into thinking you are already in a deep sleep state, and the brain responds by lowering blood pressure and releasing the neurochemicals necessary to make that state a reality. How to perform the 4-7-8 override. First, find a comfortable position on your back. Place the tip of your tongue against the ridge of tissue just behind your upper front teeth and keep it there. You will be exhaling through your mouth, around your tongue. 1. Exhale completely through your mouth, making a distinct whoosh sound. Empty your lungs until they feel flat. 2. Inhale quietly through your nose to a mental count of 4. Focus on filling your lower abdomen, not just your chest. 3. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Stay relaxed. Do not clench your throat. 4. Exhale forcefully through your mouth to a count of 8, making that whoosh sound. Imagine you are blowing out a candle on the other side of the room. Repeat this cycle exactly 4 times. What to expect? By the 3rd or 4th breath, you should feel a heaviness in your limbs. This is your blood vessels dilating and your muscle spindles relaxing. For many of my patients, this doesn't just make them sleepy, it stops the pounding sensation in the chest that often accompanies nighttime anxiety. Dr. Reid's note: limit yourself to 4 cycles initially. Your nervous system needs to acclimate to this sudden shift in gas exchange. If you wake up at 3 a.m., do not check the time. Immediately begin the 478 count. You are retraining your brain to recognize this rhythm as the system shutdown command. But what if your stress is so high that deep breathing feels impossible? This leads us to technique number 2, the fastest way to offload a day's worth of CO2-driven anxiety. Technique number 2, the physiological sigh, the fast stress reset. Sometimes your inability to sleep isn't just about a racing mind, it's about a clogged respiratory system. Throughout a stressful day, the tiny air sacs in your lungs, the alveoli, can actually collapse. When this happens, carbon dioxide, CO2, builds up in your bloodstream, sending a silent suffocation signal to your brain. This is why you might wake up at 2 a.m. feeling a tightness in your chest or a sudden unexplained sense of dread. Your brain thinks you aren't getting enough air, so it spikes your heart rate to wake you up. To fix this, we use the physiological sigh. This is a biological pattern discovered by ethologists in the 1930s. It is the fastest way to offload excess CO2 and reinflate those collapsed air sacs. By doing this, you instantly lower your internal pressure and send a massive surge of safety signals to your vagus nerve. In my clinic, I call this the reset button for the nervous system. How to perform the physiological sigh. This technique is incredibly simple and can be done the moment you feel that chest tightness or mental static. 1. Inhale deeply through your nose until your lungs feel almost full. 2. Take a second, shorter, sharp inhale on top of the first one. This second pop of air is what forces those collapsed alveoli to reinflate. 3. Exhale very slowly through your mouth until you are completely empty. This long exhale is the key to dumping the CO2 and slowing your heart. Repeat this only 2 or 3 times. You will feel an almost immediate opening in your chest and a cooling sensation in your forehead. Dr. Reid's note: you don't have to be lying down for this one. If you're sitting in your favorite chair feeling overwhelmed before bed, do 2 physiological sighs. It clears the biological trash out of your lungs so that your body is physically ready for the deeper breathing patterns we discussed earlier. Many seniors find that this specific sigh stops that shortness of breath that often mimics a panic attack in the middle of the night. Once the chest is open and the CO2 is dumped, your body is no longer in emergency mode, but your brain might still be scanning for thoughts. That leads us to technique number 3, the specific rhythm designed to power off the logic centers of your mind. Technique number 3, extended exhale breathing, the power off switch. While the first 2 techniques focus on stabilizing your heart and clearing your lungs, technique number 3 is designed specifically for the loud brain. This is for the senior who lies in bed with a mind that refuses to go offline, a brain that is analyzing, planning, and scanning for problems. Clinically, we call this cognitive hyperarousal. Your brain's logic centers, located in the prefrontal cortex, are receiving too much blood flow and electrical activity. To sleep, we need to divert that energy away from the analytical brain and toward the autonomic brain. The extended exhale is the professional tool for this job. It works on a fundamental principle of human physics called vagal tone. Most people don't realize that every time you inhale, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in and your heart rate speeds up slightly. Conversely, every time you exhale, your vagus nerve releases a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. This chemical acts like a literal brake pad on your heart and your brain waves. By doubling the length of your exhale, you are manually pumping these calming chemicals into your system for twice as long as the alerting chemicals. You are tilting the biological scales in favor of sedation. How to trigger the power-off switch. This is a rhythmic, hypnotic pattern that requires no physical effort. You don't need to hold your breath here. The focus is entirely on the ratio of the exchange. 1. Inhale through your nose for a steady, quiet count of 4. As you do this, feel your lower abdomen expand. This ensures you are using your diaphragm, which further stimulates the vagus nerve at the base of your lungs. 2. Exhale through pursed lips, slowly and steadily, as if you are breathing through a very thin straw. Count to 8 in your head. The resistance created by your lips helps maintain a back pressure that keeps your airways open and maximizes the calming signal to the brain. 3. Continue this loop without pause. Do not hold your breath between the inhale and exhale. Simply flow, in for 4, out for 8. I recommend doing this for at least 5 to 10 minutes. After the first 2 minutes, your brain waves will begin to shift from high-frequency beta waves, the state of active thinking and anxiety, to the slower alpha and theta waves, the states of drowsiness and pre-sleep. You are essentially starving the logic centers of the electrical urgency they need to stay awake. Dr. Reid's note: a common sign that this is working is when your thoughts start to become blurry, fragmented, or nonsensical. In the medical world, we call these hypnagogic hallucinations. If you start thinking of a purple tree or a boat on a cloud, do not try to snap back into logical focus. These fragments are the loading screen of sleep. You aren't thinking yourself to sleep. You are breathing your brainwaves into a state of total shutdown. But what if your mind is quiet, but your physical frame feels wired? If your limbs are twitching or your back feels like a coiled spring, your brain will remain on high alert. That brings us to technique number 4, the body melt protocol. Technique number 4, progressive muscle relaxation. The body melt protocol. If you are a senior who finds yourself constantly tossing and turning, unable to find a comfortable position, the problem isn't your mattress. It is residual neuromuscular tension. Even when you think you are lying still, your body is often subconsciously clenching. You might be shrugging your shoulders toward your ears, bracing your lower back, or locking your jaw. After 60, the communication between your brain and your muscles can become noisy, leaving your physical frame in a state of low-level guarding. This is where we use progressive muscle relaxation, PMR. In clinical terms, we are leveraging a biological principle called post-isometric relaxation. When you deliberately overcontract a muscle and then suddenly release it, the nervous system is forced to send a reset signal to that specific area, resulting in a deeper level of relaxation than you can achieve by just trying to relax. By systematically working through the body, you are clearing the physical static that keeps your brain in an alert state. How to trigger the body melt. Lie flat on your back and close your eyes. You will work from your toes up to your face, following a simple rhythm. Squeeze for 5 seconds, then melt for 10. 1. The feet and calves. Curl your toes tightly toward your soles. Flex your feet hard. Hold that tension. Feel the discomfort and release. Let your feet flop outward. Feel the sudden rush of warmth as blood returns to the tissue. 2. The thighs and glutes. Squeeze your thigh muscles and tighten your buttocks. Imagine you are trying to lift your hips off the bed using only those muscles. Hold and melt. Feel your lower body sink 3 inches deeper into the mattress. 3. The hands and arms. Clench your fists as tight as possible. Squeeze your biceps. Hold the tension until your arms shake slightly, and release. Open your fingers wide and let your arms become heavy, like dead weight. 4. The shoulders and neck. This is the stress center. Shrug your shoulders all the way to your ears. Tense your neck. Hold it and drop. Feel the space open up between your ears and your shoulders. 5. The face and jaw. Scrunch your face like you've eaten something sour. Clench your teeth and squeeze your eyes shut. Hold and let go. Let your jaw hang loose. Smooth your forehead. Dr. Reid's note: as you release each muscle group, focus on the sensation of heaviness and heat. This is the physical signature of the GABA pathways activating in your brain. GABA is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter that tells your system to stand down. Many of my patients find that they don't even make it to the face portion of the exercise before they drift off. But for the most stubborn cases of chronic insomnia, where the mind is a fortress of stress, we need the heavy artillery. That brings us to technique number 5, the legendary military method for total system collapse. Technique number 5, the military method, the ultimate system collapse. We have reached the most powerful tool in the arsenal, The military method was famously developed to help U.S. Navy pilots fall asleep in under 120 seconds, even while sitting upright in a vibrating cockpit with the sound of gunfire in the distance. If this protocol can work in a combat zone, it can work in your quiet bedroom. For a senior dealing with decades of chronic sleep issues, this technique is the final solution because it combines everything we have learned: physical relaxation and a total cognitive blackout. The biological secret of the military method lies in proprioceptive feedback. Your brain is constantly monitoring the state of your body to decide if it is safe to sleep. If even one part of your body is tense, your brain keeps the alert light on. The military method systematically shuts down every single sensory input until the brain has no choice but to slip into a dream state. It is a manual forced shutdown of your entire operating system. How to execute the military method? This requires a very specific four-step sequence. Do not skip a step, as they are designed to lead the brain deeper into the off zone. 1. The facial kill switch. This is the most crucial part. Your face contains the highest density of nerves connected to your emotional centers. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Relax your tongue, your jaw, and the muscles inside your mouth. Specifically, focus on the tiny muscles around your eyes. If those are squinting or tense, your brain thinks you are still looking for danger. Let them go completely slack. 2. The shoulder drop. Let your shoulders drop as low as possible. Do not just relax them. Imagine they are lead weights being pulled toward the floor. Let one arm go limp, then the other. If you feel any tingle or tension, shake it out mentally until your hands feel like they belong to someone else. 3. The respiratory release. Exhale and feel your chest collapse. Relax your thighs and work that heaviness down to your calves, then your ankles, and finally your toes. At this point, your body should feel like an empty suit of clothes lying on the bed. 4. The 10-second blackout. Once the body is dead weight, you must clear your mind. Do not think about your health or your family. The military trains pilots to hold one of two static images for 10 seconds. Image A. You are lying in a canoe on a perfectly still, black lake, looking up at a crystal clear blue sky. Image B. You are lying in a black velvet hammock in a room that is pitch black. Dr. Reid's note: if your mind tries to intrude with a thought, repeat the words, don't think, don't think, don't think in your head for 10 seconds. This verbal blockage prevents the logic centers from restarting. In my clinical experience, it takes about 6 weeks of consistent practice to master this. But once you do, it becomes a biological superpower. You aren't hoping to sleep anymore, you are commanding it. Once you have blocked the thoughts and relaxed the body, sleep usually follows within minutes. But remember, even the most perfect biological trigger can be sabotaged by your physical environment. This brings us to a final, critical factor that many seniors overlook: the thermal physics of your bedroom. To initiate sleep, your core body temperature must drop by approximately 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. This drop isn't just a side effect. It is the primary biological signal to your brain that it is time to transition from metabolic output to system maintenance. If your room is a sauna, your body cannot dump its internal heat, and your brain will stay in a state of simmer, regardless of how well you breathe. The ideal clinical temperature for sleep is between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Many seniors keep their bedrooms warm to soothe stiff joints, but this traps heat around your torso. Here is the sock secret. Wear warm socks to bed in a cool room. Heating your feet causes vasodilation, the opening of blood vessels in your extremities. This allows your internal body heat to be redirected from your core to your skin, where it can dissipate into the cool air. Warm feet actually lead to a cooler core, which is the fastest way to trigger the sleep switch. As your doctor, I want you to treat these 5 techniques not as a one-night experiment, but as a neurological retraining program. Your nervous system has spent years, perhaps decades, learning how to stay awake. It will not unlearn those habits in 5 minutes. First, follow the rule of 2. Do not try to master all 5 tonight. That creates performance anxiety, which is the ultimate enemy of rest. Choose 2 techniques, perhaps the 4-7-8 breathing and the military method, and commit to them for 21 consecutive nights. Your nervous system needs time to build the muscle memory for these manual overrides. If you switch techniques every night, you are just adding more noise to an already overwhelmed brain. Second, adopt a strict no-clock policy. If you wake up at 3 a.m., looking at the clock is a medical mistake. The moment you see the time, your brain triggers a cortisol spike as you calculate how many hours of sleep you have left. This mental math is a high-alert activity that resets your sleep cycle to zero. Keep the room dark, stay in your body melt position, and immediately begin the extended exhale. Technique number 3. Finally, a note of medical caution. While these methods are natural, your safety comes first. If you have severe respiratory issues, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, or untreated sleep apnea, consult your physician before practicing prolonged breath-holding techniques like the 4-7-8 method. We are working with your biology, not fighting it. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a clinical requirement for your brain to flush out metabolic toxins and for your heart to repair its vascular lining. You are not destined to be a poor sleeper just because you've passed 60. You simply needed a modern manual for your aging nervous system. I am Dr. Reid. If these physiological triggers help you reclaim your night and restore your energy, let me know in the comments. I learned from your success. Save this video right now so it's ready on your nightstand whenever you need a refresher in the dark. Stop fighting for sleep and start allowing your body to do exactly what it was designed to do. I'll see you in the next video. Good night.